really, really wanted to start this episode with a skull clap. Well, Brev's doing it anyways. You know who was skull clapping? The fans of the Detroit Lions at Ford Field, because the Vikings got absolutely cooked last night. We'll talk about that. I'm Jason Harmon here with Brevin, the Brevman Bane. Um, you and I were texting last night. We had different feelings. We were both upset about the game, but like to different extents and for different reasons. How are you feeling today? Almost say like 20, maybe like 18 hours post mortem.
I I feel nothing. I didn't think I thought that Minnesota could win and to a point should win, but I'm not surprised. Minnesota falls in a big game. No one should be. This year it does feel a little bit different, but nonetheless, the Vikings will still do Vikings things, and it's just frustrating because even though it was like a 22-point victory, congrats to the Lions, won the division like most of us predicted they would anyway, just not this way. Um, it still didn't feel like a 22-point loss. It felt like this was a completely self-inflicted type of major gushing wound.
I agree with you that like it's not a shock the Vikings lost a big game. What is shocking is how and why they lost the game, given what they've shown this year. That's the first time we've gotten blown out in, I think, even going back to the end of last season with backup quarterbacks in a. I'm trying to remember. No, sorry, the Packers game we got blown out with the Jaron Hall disaster class. But since then, this is by far the worst loss we've had. Um, I have my thoughts. I'm sure you and I are going to point similar blame. Um, but it wasn't that we lost. Like I would be more. I think my emotional peak would have been higher losing like we did against Detroit the first time, like on a last second field goal or something. Um, but this one was just such a different type of soul draining feeling. I don't think I felt it since maybe the 40 something point blowout against the Cowboys, that kind of just absolute, like, this team is inept every time the offense touches the ball type feeling. Obviously, the stakes were way higher. But for the first half of that game, it was objectively funny. The greatest matchup in regular season history was just two teams joking around. Jared Goff had like a -6, -7 EPA in the first half. Um, Sam Darnold was like -13. It was insane. Um, but let's talk about who's at fault. It's pretty obvious, I think, where we're going to point fingers. Do you want to go first, or should I do my rant first?
I don't have a passionate rant loaded up, so if you have one,
Really, I'm
go
shocked
ahead.
because
No.
there's a couple people usually like to target who I thought you could put some blame at, but I mean, here's the thing: Will Reichard, that's an issue. I'm a little concerned. Kevin O'Connell said today that he is healthy because I'm like, if that is health, boy, the fact that you can take one of the best kickers in college football history, put him in a Vikings jersey, and immediately he just falls apart. Not even immediately, he shows promise and then falls apart, is disturbing. The interior line, I think they gave up 26 pressures. Cam Robinson gave up like 8 or 9. Reisner only gave up 2, which isn't great, but like comparatively, that's great. O'Neal gave up 1. It was just not a great night by the offensive line. But I have one feeling and one feeling only. Today, I'm going to the playoff game Monday. So hopefully my feelings leaving LA Tuesday morning are different. But all I have today is one feeling. Just one. That's all I got. As of this moment,
Wow.
all I'm thinking about is JJ McCarthy being the Minnesota Vikings quarterback next year. Here is why. And Twitter is on fire about people going back and forth on this. Now people are arguing if JJ McCarthy's too frail and skinny because of the sideline shot of him last night. Breaking news, he probably hasn't been lifting a ton
Hmm.
for the moment. And NFL teams are usually pretty good at getting guys bulked up quickly. So I think that's not a concern. Um, Sam Darnold last night had the worst quarterback performance I've seen in a minute. I want to play a game, Brev. I want you to identify these two stat lines. Okay.
Mhm.
One player, quarterback A, 20 for 53 for 190 yards. Quarterback B, 18 for 41 for 166. Who is quarterback A and who is quarterback B?
I feel like I saw Darnold had 190 passing at one point, so I want to say quarterback A is him. But I also saw at one point he was like 18 for 40, so quarterback B sounds like him. So I'm gonna go with quarterback B.
You are correct. He had 166 yards. So that
Wow.
leaves quarterback A with a performance of 20 completions on 53 attempts for 190. Who is that quarterback? And I want to give props to our friend Dex at Score North for pointing this out last night.
And this is a quarterback that was not in the game last night, so it's not
Not in
Jared
the
Goff.
game last night, did put a purple jersey on at one point in their career.
Kirk Cousins.
Josh Freeman.
Oh,
I know you're not on Twitter. I know some of us who are on Twitter probably saw Dex's tweet pop off last night. Sam Darnold, 18 for 41 for 166. Josh Freeman in the Monday Night Football disaster
yeah.
class at MetLife, 20 for 53 for 190. This is the worst Vikings quarterback performance for somebody to play an entire game. Like, debatably, we could look at Dobbs in Vegas, whatever you want, or Jaron Hall against the Packers and say other things. That's fine. But from a start to finish game, this was the worst Vikings quarterback performance since then. And it came at the absolute worst time. So, point of my rant is this: is I have always said I think Darnold could do good things. He could make a really great storyline this year, have a lot of success, and earn a bag elsewhere. I even you and I were both saying lately, like, man, it's really hard to let him walk. If he shows up next week, if I go out to LA and I witness anything close to what we saw last night, that answer is clear, unequivocally, you let him walk. Because you moved on from Kirk Cousins for two main reasons: the cost and the lack of performance when it mattered most. You cannot then turn around and say, well, Darnold's only 27. Well, Darnold won 14 games. Well, Darnold's not coming off an Achilles, and go back to somebody who's going to cost you tens of millions of dollars, granted, probably at a discount after last night and possibly this coming weekend, um, and not perform when it matters most. I think the narrative, like, well, how would we know McCarthy would do any better, is a relatively fair narrative if it wasn't for the fact that I think people are extremely ignorant. Not ignorant, I should say. They're ignoring, maybe purposefully, or don't pay attention to how much pressure, not saying skill, but pressure there is to play for Michigan and lead them to a national title. Championship game, I think he threw like 120 yards, something like that. Big whoop. Against Alabama, he went off. But as far as just embracing the moment and having your most confidence on the biggest stage, do I think McCarthy's going to go out and throw 35 touchdowns in his first year? Probably not. Like, I don't think that. But would I rather have somebody who can build and grow, but also have that swagger, that killer instinct, the guy who wants to be on that stage, as opposed to Judd on Score North, going to prop them out again. I was listening this morning, referred to Darnold as hyperventilating on the sidelines, like somebody in that situation. Yeah, give me the guy with the mentality to embrace the challenge, even if he's not necessarily consistently putting up the same kinds of stats. I'm hoping, I like, trust me, I am hoping Sam Darnold has an insane turnaround. But I'm concerned, and I'm currently not crazy excited to even be at this game for the fact that the issues with Darnold last night were a sign of a mental lapse and a mental, just something missing. That dog was not there. And I don't know if that can get coached up or randomly instilled in him in a week.
Yeah, so that was a very good rant. Very nice,
Thank
very
you.
good points all around. I guess to kind of go off what you were doing, I mean, I knew we talk about McCarthy versus Darnold, but I didn't know we were going to go this much into it. The things that come to mind as you were speaking there is the main thing about keeping Darnold. Like, yes, he has played very well this season. He's been almost undeniable at some points. Um, Kirk Cousins also played very well during the regular season and was undeniable at some points. But when it came to this time of year, um, the team wasn't in the playoffs many times under Kirk Cousins, which is another issue in itself. But you think about like the Bears in 2018, week before or the
Oh,
last week of the season, dud. Darnold had the dud last night. Um, and the narrative to me also is going to be, yeah, regular season is cool. We had a quarterback that we let walk and avoided paying $45 million that tore up the regular season. He was great against the AFC South and he was great in these regular season games and we get caught up in it.
well,
And I'm
most
not
of the
saying,
AFC South.
yeah, fair. And I know we get caught up in like this could be the guy and then when he goes out and underperforms it's oh no, now we're all against him and I don't think either of us are necessarily up against Sam Darnold. He's the quarterback of our football team right now. We have Super Bowl aspirations at this point with Sam Darnold, and for that alone, he should be commended. But I am saying if we go into the playoffs, we've already seen Week 18, huge game. Judd was very accurate in saying Sam Darnold looked like he was hyperventilating. I remember when he came out onto the field after we forced that, I think the three and out when the Lions on the very first drive of the game, the Lions received the ball or like just something about Sam Darnold. I was like, I don't. He looks a little too like. I wanted to
He
be
looked
like, oh,
off. He looked like a stiff statue.
oh, he looked jumpy to me. Like he was warming up. It looked like Josh McCown was like pushing him back, or whoever that was. It looked like Josh McCown was pushing him back onto the sideline. Like, no, we're going to commercial. Like, I wanted to say that was him being like, oh, I'm ready to go. I'm fired up. Let's go. But like as you see Darnold, you saw his play. You saw him on the sideline throughout the night, and you're just like, oh, this looks quite familiar. And I know the regular season is great. Sam Darnold again should be praised for what he did. He's turned his around one way or another. He's going to make a lot of money from one team, even if it's not the Vikings next season somehow, whoever it is. Um, but if it's the playoffs and if his performances are anything like last night, that's just not a guy you can't give $45 million to because you didn't do that last year when you let Kirk Cousins walk out the door. And the argument of you brought up, yeah, we don't know what McCarthy is, so but and we kind of know what Sam Darnold is, so we should go with Sam Darnold. We knew who Kirk Cousins was when Kirk Cousins was here. We have just as much information on JJ McCarthy as we did when we took him with the 10th overall pick in the NFL draft. So no, we don't know who JJ McCarthy is right now. We just have the idea of who he could be, and I believe he could be, and all with all my heart. We had the same exact thought process on draft night when we took him 10th overall. So there's
Mhm.
no difference in the thought process there. The only difference is Sam Darnold had a even better than Baker Mayfield resurgence statistically at least. So the JJ McCarthy thought hasn't gone anywhere. It's just what do you do with Sam Darnold? And again, I got to see the playoffs. If he has a performance like last night, like no, can't do it. I don't know how much your contract value goes down from one bad performance, but I mean, it wasn't that it was a bad performance. He was kind of just straight up bad, missing wide open throws, just things he didn't do all year long. And to his credit, from how well he has played this year, that's not who Sam Darnold is. And I know that's not who Sam Darnold is.
Yeah.
So,
Even the Jaguars game, which is the easiest comparison, like the offense was moving. He
yeah,
just was turning it over at the worst times. Like he wasn't I mean, it it was again, like you said, it wasn't a bad game. It was he was not there. And
no,
I'll share some of the Twitter drama with you. You probably missed. But he had Orlovsky counted 5 touchdowns. He just missed 5.
yeah,
And you know what kills me is you got Terry and Arnold right now being like, call us Chick-fil-A closed on or not open on Sundays and all this. And these Lions DBs are like going off. And I'm like, you know what? Like, credit to you. The stats are the stats, the numbers are the numbers. But you guys gave up what should have been 3 or 4 touchdowns at least in the first half. Like
Oh
in
yeah.
theory, you left guys open. Addison was open on 2 to the point where his dad is going off on Twitter saying Kevin O'Connell got out coached. Sam Darnold needs to do push-ups. The defense needs to do push-ups on the plane. First of all, like complete, like so unnecessary. There is no good that is coming from that. He's sharing videos that he shared the Dan Orlovsky video with like the eyes emoji. There is no benefit. And let me say this straight up as clearly as I can. I love Jordan Addison being on the Minnesota Vikings on the field. But the last thing that guy needs right now is his dad bashing the coach and bashing the current quarterback in what everyone knew was likely going to be a rebuild year, anyways, when his son is due to go to I think it's technically a trial soon. Like, it doesn't. I wish Jordan Addison the best. I hope he gets things together. The last thing he needs is his dad doing this. And this was after his mom a few weeks ago was talking about Jefferson being mad he didn't get the ball and Addison did. Like, it's too much. It's unnecessary. It's a distraction. It's stupid. Just going to call it what it is. But who do you think, shockingly, was getting a lot of blame last night for this game?
It shouldn't be Kevin O'Connell.
It was.
Yeah.
And look, admittedly, could we have run the ball more? Probably. Aaron Jones was having a great game until he got a little banged up. Like in any game you lose, hell, even in the games you win, you can go back and be like, wish we did this different. Like, you know what I mean? There's always nobody's scoring a touchdown on every single play. Other than that, there's always something you can really learn. Um, but when you watch the film back, his scheme worked. Period.
One of my friends texted me in a group chat we have, and he was like, I don't get it. Somebody is literally always wide open in your offense. And people, that's what I was gonna say to like the line secondary thing. Like Amik Robertson, credit to him. I mean, you're going one on one with the best wide receiver on the planet. So like I'm not expecting you to play perfect. But they were touting him up a lot and like, okay, sure, like statistically, Justin Jefferson wasn't like fantastic up against Meek Robertson last night, but he was getting filleted. Sam Darnold was just missing him. If I haven't watched the film yet, but I am 1,000,000% confident that on a large majority of the plays, Justin Jefferson is killing Amik Robertson. And there's a couple where Amik Robertson played good coverage, and it's the NFL. Amik Robertson is an NFL player. He's one of the best athletes in the world. It's going to happen.
And there's a
But
few he was holding him and it didn't get called.
yeah, that's my point is that it sounds like coping, but I feel like if you watched that football game last night, Minnesota lost it much more than Detroit won. And it's tough to say that and convince people when it was a 22-point loss. But I mean, the Vikings defense had Detroit in hell. It was hell. And Detroit's defense also had the offense, the Vikings offense kind of in hell too. But I'll just refer back to the multiple missed touchdowns that Sam Darnold had last night. Like the Addison thing, I forgive. I think people are way too quick to jump on quarterbacks for missing somebody wide open just because they have progressions that they go to. And if that receiver's not open when he's going through his progressions and he's past that read, then like it's hard to blame him when you're the quarterback in that situation. Like it's completely understandable. People don't think about it like that. Again, I haven't watched the film, but on that play, it looked like Sam Darnold looked right at him and looked away. So I was really frustrated on that one. The multiple Jefferson misses on that one drive where he probably should have been picked on that first throw, but he sails one to row G that Jefferson has to climb the ladder for. Then he just misses him where Justin Jefferson gets butt naked on the fader out to the back pylon. Like just so many missed opportunities. And eventually the dam broke and the Vikings defense gave up some points. And like that's just gonna happen. When you're holding them that much, your offense isn't doing anything to respond. So,
Yeah.
and yes, to your point, also, I texted you like Kevin O'Connell. Again, the one of the two gripes I might have on him. The other one was like the short yardage situations, which I'm cool with him on that now after this year. But him not, I don't know if he just, I know you don't want to be predictable, but if something is working, don't overthink it. And that drive where Darnold took the 17-yard sack, which they did miss a face mask on, Sam Darnold doesn't need to take that sack. He can throw it away still. but just like the run game was working. So just run it on first down.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. And, at the end of the day, you lose a game, you have to give some blame to the head coach. Like, you,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
just have to. I'd put five, if I watch the All 22 in full, maybe 10% of the blame on him. Who
Mhm.
I'm not going to blame, but box score wise is very easy to blame, is Brian Flores.
Mhm.
Because, well, here's the thing. I, it's a tale. This game and my frustration from this game comes from the first half because the first half determined everything to follow. Jameer Gibbs is really, really damn good.
Mhm.
Hell, I said that forget the passing game. That should be such a priority. You bring up somebody like Levi Drake Rodriguez just to block a couple lanes. Like knowing he's not going to shed a lot of blocks necessarily, but just to take up space. Like we knew Jameer Gibbs, if we allowed them to play with the lead or keep it close and they were able to run the ball, was going to dominate. We knew that. It's not a surprise to the point where, again, we talked about different ways of stopping it. It was You held the best offense in the NFL to 10 points after the half and 17 points through the third quarter.
Yep.
Yes, they gave up 4 touchdowns to Gibbs, but they were gassed. They
Mhm.
were getting no help at
Mhm.
all. Brian Flores, the Packers, obviously, the game got a little close for comfort last week, but they even said they weren't prepared for the adjustments Flores made last week. And the biggest thing that's been held against Flores is his lack of adjustments, right? Once a team figures it out, it's over. Once a team gets his number, they're going to have his number forever. The Lions didn't have his number to start this game. They didn't have anything until they slowly built up enough of a lead. The offense didn't capitalize. Reichard struggled, and then they were able just to run with Gibbs, who is human kryptonite for the way this Vikings defense is set up.
Mhm. Yeah, and if
I
you
don't
look at
think that's Flores' fault.
no, the Vikings defense again, they gave up 31 points, I think it was, but they played really well, and the dam broke when all the water was. It was. I almost
How
had a
did
real
dams work? The dam
well,
broke when the water broke the
like when
dam.
there's too much water, like there's a lot of water, like more water than it's rated for,
Okay.
you know.
So we have a,
So yeah,
never
dam,
mind, a levee situation. Okay.
right,
Continue.
something like that. Yeah, defense played really well, and then you go back and look at all the miscues, like I'm not even taking the Sam Darnold missed touchdown throws into account, but the Reichard missed field goal, which wasn't even close, and I'm really scared about that. The Will Reichard again, the miscue on the kickoff right before half gave Detroit 3 points going into 3 more points, gave them 10 total going into halftime, and after halftime we're getting the ball back, so that could have been big. And then the drop pick six by Van Ginkel, who was very good last night. So there's a I'm
That was a
gonna
rough sequence, and then he
yeah
got just blasted for the touchdown.
yeah and third that's 13 points right there in your hands that you just didn't get. And like Van Ginkel, it's hard to he's an edge rusher, but I guess we kind of expect him. And he made a good play no matter what. If he dropped the pick, whatever.
He did the
But
same thing, exact same thing happened, I think, near the same spot against San Francisco.
exactly, yeah. And even earlier in the game when he popped Jameer Gibbs, it made me stand up out of my seat. But yeah, there's 13 points, and that's not even including Sam Darnold missing wide open players in the end zone. So it's frustrating. But boy, math, this is a good loss. Channel it, beat the Rams, go back to Detroit. I want Detroit again. I truly do.
I I want Detroit again. So I knew you were gonna boy math this because you had foreshadowed that last week.
Yep.
I would have been okay with a loss where you have a lot of practical takeaways. I don't think there's takeaways. Maybe that's not the right word. Things you can fix. You can't fix Darnold's guts.
Yeah. But
Like he's been in the league 7 years.
in theory, you can tell him to throw the ball better, and it makes you feel better.
I would assume that conversation was had
Yeah.
multiple times.
Spin
Because
zone. spin zone. Sam Darnold has had a couple less than stellar games this year, and he bounced back the next week. So
Agreed. But again, the context of the moment, like he was nervous, and it was clear he was nervous because of the moment.
yeah,
The spotlight does not get any dimmer from here on out.
no,
And again, I said it, you said it, we'll triple, double down, whatever. I don't want that to be the case. Like I want Sam Darnold to go out and win four straight, win the Super Bowl, and get a lifetime contract.
yeah, that would be great.
Like I don't like that is what I want. I want Sam Darnold to get a lifetime contract because for that to happen, he would have won the Super Bowl. Like I want that. I want the team to win a Super Bowl. And if that
Notice,
happens, I will be the happiest man on earth. But I'm worried about it
yeah.
because of what happened last night.
Notice how similar these conversations are to a similar quarterback that just
It's
blocked this
just
offseason, where it's like you really want him to do that, but Kenny.
I just
I have a question for you. A would you
it's
rather?
just okay.
It's a good one. It's a good one. Would you rather? It has nothing to do with TJ Hawkinson's contract. Would you rather go into the playoffs on, I believe, what would have been a 10-game win streak, or go in off an embarrassing loss and channel it and use it as fuel?
10-game win streak if it meant a bye and home field advantage.
Yeah, but let's
The
just say
stakes,
hypothetically you lost.
hypothetically, probably a loss. It's hard for me to enthusiastically say to choose anything with the term embarrassing loss in it.
I mean,
Um,
yeah, that'd be nice.
but I would definitely say, oh God, what's our point differential now? It's not negative. There's no way in hell. It's probably like plus
No,
70 or something. Um,
maybe more.
but I would say probably the second if it wasn't for what we knew the stakes were last night. Knowing the
Yeah,
stakes, I'd say 10 straight wins easily.
that's fair. I love steak. Steak's good.
I'm a ribeye guy myself.
Nice. The Vikings finished 2000. Oh yeah, now we can do like final stats and everything. That's awesome. The Vikings finished with an exact plus 100 point differential. Their 22-point loss is exactly 22 points less than the Green Bay Packers plus 122 point differential. We're frauds.
The Packers have a plus 122 point differential.
Yep, the Buccaneers have a plus 117.
Oh man, what are the Rams at?
Uh minus 19.
I,
Guess what the Broncos are at? Plus 114 because of their 38-point win yesterday.
that's wild. I'm gonna say it. I don't know. I'm not gonna. I have very mixed feelings about the Rams. I think they're like us. They can show up and be great on any day, and they could also be just a dysfunctional crap show on any day. On
I
any
just
day.
kind of hope the NFL doesn't make the call to cut the game short this time. At least give
Yeah.
them a chance. That'd be cool.
Couple other things to talk about. I mean, we kind of talked on Riker on and off. I think I would I would sign John Parker Romo to the active roster. I would do it unless you decide that you're going to consistently promote somebody up. Obviously, if Pat Jones is healthy, then you don't have to worry about really bringing many people up. But I still think LDR is worth bringing in because obviously we can't stop goal line runs, and it's worth a try. It's worth something. Big man stop ball, I think is worth it's worth it. And Kyron isn't some like schlub of a back. He's not Jameer Gibbs, but like the Vikings need to be prepared to stop the run better this weekend.
Let me declare something. I am riding and dying with my baby boy, Will Reichard.
I mean, I love Will.
No, I don't want him. I don't want John Parker Romo. I
I
don't want
need
Steven Gostkowski. I don't want Adam Vinatieri. Give me Iguodala. I want Will Reichard.
I
Fate of the
want Will
universe.
again. Like dude, I've been one of the biggest Reichard stands there is. You and I think you and I were the only ones, other than maybe our buddy Shane from Alabama,
Hmm.
um, who really understood how good of a pick that was. I still think something, even if he's not hurt, the injury threw him off and he needs time to get right. And I don't think the middle of playoff games is the time just to let him get his at bats in the
Riding and
current
dying,
form.
riding
I
and
hope you're right.
dying.
I want him long term, but I think a couple things I think a couple things need to be adjusted, and I just want to make sure that there's actual time being spent doing that. Um,
Dying.
okay. Well, oh man. Kills me. But the Vikings go to LA. We'll talk later this week. I fly out Sunday and I leave Tuesday morning. I think the game's at 5 local time
How did
on Monday.
how'd the refund process go for your divisional round ticket?
Funny thing is, technically it isn't refunded yet because the event's not canceled yet.
There's still a chance.
Did you not know? Well, there's only 3 games this weekend, and if all 3 wildcard teams
Oh yeah,
win,
duh. Yeah. You're
I
right.
forgot about that. So I have to explain to my wife that $800 or whatever. No, it's not 800. It's like less than that. The few $100 that we thought we'd be getting right back. Ho ho ho! Turns out Daddy might need to go to Minnesota after all. That'll go over well. Um,
Great.
luckily, the Rams tickets were pretty damn cheap. I think like when I went for Thursday night football, the cheapest tickets in the stadium were like 70, $80. For a wild card game, the cheapest ones are like 110.
Wow.
Yeah. It's the second cheapest game this weekend. I
Then
believe the other one is the Chargers Texans
and then our nosebleed seats at US Bank for the Packers game.
or
Or
400, 500. Yeah. I mean, it home field advantage was just such an important thing. Then it sucks it's gone. Realistically, if we want this team to get right, what we have to hope for is can't believe I'm saying this a Packers win and a Commanders win, and then the Vikings to show up. I think somebody put the odds of that happening at like 2.5%.
Mhm.
Um, so you're saying there's a chance. If that happens and the Vikings win, they will host the Commanders. The Packers would travel to Detroit. Think the Vikings should beat the Commanders. It's my opinion in that hypothetical. Jay
Mhm.
Daniels is really good, but I think roster wise, we should do it. Um, and then I would be rooting for a Packers upset because I would love to host them in the NFC Championship game. But we are so far away
Mhm.
from like I was having thoughts about traveling for the NFC Championship game this time yesterday. I am no longer having those thoughts. I hope I get to continue those thoughts.
Mhm.
Really would like to. But Dan Campbell saying to Kevin O'Connell, I'll see you in 2 weeks is either one, proof the NFL is scripted, or two, him being like really respectful and slash disrespectful to the Rams, which is a bold
Yeah.
decision. I'm sure that if the Rams do beat us, they won't put that on their bulletin board whatsoever.
Mhm. Um, I was thinking about it. I have one more question for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna try to sell you on not having home field one more time.
Okay.
Do you consider yourself a Viking?
Like a literal Viking, somebody who would.
No.
Oh,
Like a
okay.
Viking.
You're gonna make the analogy that to be true Vikings, they need to show up in foreign lands and pillage their enemies.
Very good. Just pillage, none of the other stuff they did.
Yeah. By the way, if you think skull means cheers, you might want to look up what it actually means. It is a form of cheers. It just happens to involve the decapitated head of your enemy as the cup.
Mhm.
But if the Vikings were to go to that level of intensity in the playoffs, I would be pleased. Not literally. We're not. We're
Yeah.
not rooting. We're not biting kneecaps, chopping off heads over here. But
Unless we're playing Deshaun Watson.
in that case, we could have a conversation, but
Yeah.
nobody's playing Deshaun Watson because he is the worst and the team is eliminated. We have 3 minutes left. We have to talk about, and I think we're going to disagree here. Hawkinson last night. Where would you put the blame? 50-50 him and Darnold, mostly Hawk, mostly Darnold. I think you know where I lean, but I also know you have an agenda that this is a unique opportunity for you to really hammer home.
Where would I put the blame? how much of the blame would I put on Hawk for what happened last night? Just not the game as a whole, because he is a tight end.
I'm strictly talking about
When he was
the
targeted.
when he was targeted.
Yes. So I could spin it and be like, look, I don't know what he's doing that $20 million total contract or like a $5 million per year contract tight end can't do. But I won't do that. And I will say I do not put a lot of blame on Hawkinson at all because Sam was, I know that first target to him early in the game on the outright, I think that was his first target, just sailed. Don't remember a lot of the rest of the target, like that no call PI. At first, I was like, okay, TJ, like what? We're paying you to catch that. But then I saw that his arm got hit. So those are really the main ones. I do remember a nice catch or two that he had. So it's hard for me to put a lot of blame on TJ Hawkinson.
I agree. I think there was a couple he probably could have brought in, but man, it was really, really. It's
Now,
mostly
how
on
much blame
Darnold.
would I put on him for making the discussion to pay Sam Darnold a little bit more difficult when you're paying a tight end $17 million a year? Maybe a little bit.
I don't care how much
More.
money you're paying. Those are a non-factor to me. His contract is a non-factor in bringing back Darnold. I don't care if we would
Oh,
have.
okay.
I don't care if we have 300 million in cap space and are talking about
Same. I just wanted to
re-signing
dig.
Darnold.
I just wanted to
I'm
dig.
talking about allocation of funds towards something. Because here's the reality of the situation: you're going to need to pay Harry to come back. I believe. I think he's technically like, is he on a 1 year deal or is he
Hey, Harry. Oh,
Harrison Smith?
Harrison Phillips.
No, Harrison Smith. What's his deal? What's his contract situation right now? Because I
It
know it's kind of year
expires.
to year on if he'll retire, but
It
when's it actually?
expires after this year, I'm pretty sure.
I think so. And then Cam Bynum's sister is posting stuff of him walking off the field for the last time at US Bank, being like, knowing his rookie contract's over. Like, you have to, there's too much. So I'm not, I don't know. We have a minute left. We'll do our pregame show Friday, I'm assuming. When do
Yeah,
you work,
I
by
think
the
I'm
way?
off that day.
I would hope you would know.
I'm
And I
not
hope you
sure.
survived the snowstorm.
We did. We're good. I think it's over.
You say that as the roof metronome's in
Yeah, I was
on
about
you.
to say, great. Now my power is going to go out. Oh man, a
I mean,
minute
at the
left.
end of the
Hey, do
day,
you think TJ Hawkinson's worth the contract? You can say no. It's okay.
I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna absolutely kill you.
Hmm.
I'm not worried about that contract. I'm worried. I'm literally worried about the quarterback position right now. Hey, it won't really matter if you have a quarterback on a rookie scale contract next year.
Yeah, but imagine what you could do with that money to put even more talent around there.
You'd have to put a different tight end.
No.
Anyways, we're about to get shut off from our meeting. We'll talk to you guys Friday, hopefully in a more optimistic mood. Again, we believe the Vikings can, and frankly, they're favored, should win on Monday. It just
Hmm.
depends on what team shows up. We'll talk more about that Friday. If you want to go to the game, use code JasonH or code Brev on SeatGeek to get in to LA even cheaper. We'll see you guys on Friday.
Skull.